Welcome to Episode 6 of the Mirandus Farmer's Almanac. I'm your host Anna, and co-hosting with me today are Mecro and Wolfie the Wolfenite. Today we will talk a bit on the adventure side about what the health mechanics and the life cycle of a player Mirandus might be like. Then, how buildings may play a role in how damage is repaired, not only to the player, but their assets as well. Then finally, an update on some small things going on in Guild. Alright, let's listen in. And when you jump in there, what's the life system going to be like? When you get into the game, say beta, where do you start off at? I think that's where we started last week before I messed up the sounding and we had to redo all this. What do you guys think? Because I was saying temples, and I think Woofy said center, the square center, whatever citadel you pick, right?
Yeah, there's always a general location that people spawn, either close to a citadel or something like that, so you can get your basics.
So, I don't know. I thought the town square was pretty slick. So,
Yeah.
I know when you jump in normally in a game, you're going to have your tutorial. It's going to tell you, what you're doing or give you an idea or a sense of, gameplay. So I assume it would be something of like, this is what you do and end up getting a sword, end up getting armor, and then you're off to play the game, right? So what's that going to be like? What's that life system going to be like with all these towns? Now we have like all these, not towns, but the buildings that we have involved give us like clues to what the life system's going to be like. So last time we talked about this, before I messed up the sound, you were mentioning Ark, and I've never played Ark. I don't know if you played Ark, Joe.
I haven't.
I haven't either. But explain
Both are fired.
how does that life system work in Ark? Because I feel like it might, the way you explained it last time, might like work with this.
Alright, so the basic of Ark is when you start out, you land on a beach, and you're pretty much butt naked, and the objective is to run around and grab up sticks, berries, bush stuff, and you build your basic equipment like a hatchet and a hatchet and a club and stuff, so you can fight off things, and you can cut trees down, and a pick, so you can break the rocks up. While you're running around, you literally are watching your health stats, your hunger stat, and your water stat dropping as you're running around doing your stuff. So the objective becomes, do I run over here and keep collecting more stones, or do I focus now on going back to eating again? So, like, if they're having this much objective with eating food, I think it's going to be the same scenario that, like, you're going to need to get your ass in motion, excuse me, but you'll have to get your butt in motion in order to get that food. Like, the priority won't be just gear, but you're going to be literally watching your stats as you're either land in that town square or land out in the woods and have to walk towards a village or somewhere to hit an NPC or somebody to like start your basics.
Sure. So, okay, so now I'll bring. Dang, I should be streaming this to you guys too. That's all right. I don't worry about it. So I just brought up tents and camps, right? So after you do all that tutorial, and after that, you go out into the world, right? And you're going to do whatever grind it is. Whether, I don't know if you pick up quests or smart contracts or whatever, but all right, you're out into the world now, and then you have to watch this health system. So we got there's a ton of buildings that are like buildings they're releasing now, and they're not coming out with them publicly, but you can see them through like some of the distro rewards from the nodes, right? Like I've been paying attention to a lot of that, and it's just giving hints to like maybe how this life system would work, and he was explaining how Ark would work. So it's just like you go out into the world now, and then obviously you're going to have your life bar. Well, then now you're going to have an energy bar, right? Because you need this for your food. Well, on top of that, we have like tents and camps. And then you sent me a link, or at least pictures, because you said they release them through Town Stars, of the inns. Like they have like the higher like the 10 by 20s and the 20 by 20 ends, like a majestic ends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so now you got like rested. Now you have I would assume you'd have a rested bar. So,
Well, I think the reason the inns and the camps and stuff also have a main purpose is if it's anything like Ark, you can't just log off and like avoid stuff or just quit your game where you're at. You have to go back to your base and log off, or you have to hide yourself in a bush and hope nothing kills you, because if that does, then you lose your crap.
well, I would assume if you log off, it'll just log you off there. But do you want to log off there? I mean, I imagine you could, and you just come back in and you spawn back
Well, not
around
it,
just where you were at
but
with
see
what
that
you
I
have.
don't think that's the way they want it. I think if they're playing this off of the Arc system type scenario, I think they're going to use it to the same fact that if you log off where you do, your body lays down in that spot.
Oh, and you're there. Like,
Yeah, you're left.
you
You're
haven't
left in the game. So
disconnected.
when you,
Okay.
no, yeah, you left the game,
Your
so you're
body has
asleep
no
now in the
soul,
game.
right? The body's still there,
Yeah,
but there's no soul.
you just
Put it
drop.
that
You
way.
just drop and you're laying there, and anybody can come along and rob you pretty much. But it won't be humans that rob you, since they don't want that in a PvP scenario. But it could be a goblin or a monster or a wolf that
Sure.
comes along and eats you.
That makes sense. So I was thinking that, I don't know, let me bring up, like the taverns and the inns, they were,
You have to.
yeah, they were explaining, and let me find it. And this, oh no, I'm bringing up the web page from the last Mirandus Monday where, they're in and they're all with their glasses and some great artwork there.
Well,
But
to me, when I look, oh, go ahead.
it just gave a clue down here at the bottom. I highlighted it though, like what the food would do. It would, like they said, used to literally fuel their physical activities. Then, after a good night's sleep, the satisfied dinner would arise full of energy, ready to work in order to produce the next day's bread. So I'm thinking that the food works with the sleep. And I'm thinking that sleep is literally like 4 to 8 hours of actual sleep to get full
Yeah, and
energy.
it speeds itself up while you sleep,
So, and
because Art
this,
does it too.
is that how Ark does it as well?
You can go to your bed and it'll give you a sleep mode, and then it kind of spins like the thing like you slept for a certain amount of hours or something, and you're down for like 10.
I've never paid attention. Have you ever heard the team mention anything about Ark, or that they like playing the game?
Uh, it's not just Ark. There's a lot of like
A lot of games that do
it's the
that.
open world. Well, yeah, it's the sandbox open world games that are built like this. Even like Rust and stuff. A lot of these games are built this direction.
Yeah, see, I've never
They
played
want
any
to
of
they
these.
want to get that simulator game to you.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, you would so this food would interact with sleep to like
Yeah,
fill you back up, and you have to do it for so long. Which is
yeah,
it kind of puts a damper. Like you just can't go out there and mindlessly just grind for hours and hours, right? Because then you run low on energy, and you can only carry so much food, and then food is weight, and I imagine the armor that you wear is weight, and
hmm
all that is like factored into all of your
that's
energy, right?
exactly what they've said already. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, and
I
you
seen
know they're gonna play that.
I seen they did tanneries too. Like they minted these out,
Yeah.
and I think the 10 by 10s was saying leather is carefully prepared and ready to be crafted into armor, right?
hmm
So using all this stuff, you're going to have weight on you, and I imagine that's going to like drain your energy just as much. So I'm curious when you're out there, and what happens if you run out of energy in the games that you've played? Like, do you ever get stuck out there?
You die. Well, what'll happen is when your bars all hit that negative space, you'll start getting a different bars that'll come up like a yellow and a red or something, and they'll be flashing, and it'll let you know you need to quit what you're doing, and you need to focus on either going to get food or liquids or whatever it is that's required, because the fact that there's a pub and food type stuff, that means there's going to be a liquid bar and a food bar on both sides. You'll have to keep both of those up at the same time as well. It won't be just one thing tied to each other.
Okay, so it's time. So when that stuff happens, it's time to bail back to tavern or the inn or just a shop to get some sort of food, at least when your bags are empty.
Yeah, that almost every game I've ever played, when you get to that stage where you're getting fatigued, it starts giving you some kind of warning symbol, or the screen around you turns red or something starts flashing, like you should be moving.
Okay. So I imagine you think you could ride a horse like that?
Yeah. Well, that'll be your main objective, is to get on your horse and get to that town. If you don't have something, get to the closest village, and you'll probably have to pull up your map and try to see where you're at.
So would you think that the horse would have the same attributes as you would? Like it has a health
I
system and an energy system and a resting system. Would that be the point of the
see that's
barns?
I would say yes, and I can't honestly answer that, because the NFT part is where it throws the game for a loop for me on it, because I don't really understand how the horse system's going to work, and if like there has to be a limitation of horses, because it can't be like in most games like Ark, where the dinosaurs keep respawning.
Well, I would say if I was if I'm just all this is all, listen, everything that we say here is not announced by Gala. This is all speculation. But I would
Yeah.
say horses, any animal, right? And then also on top of the animals, but also the seeds. You might see these for sale in the store, or at least within the game. This is a way that maybe Gala can make some money out of like some sort of NFT sales. So like they would sell you the seed. Like there would be a vendor from Gala that would sell you these seeds. And then that's how they incorporate the seeds within the game. And then you take the seeds and then you plant them, and then your plant would grow, and then it would produce seeds. But the starter kit, either that or they just maybe do it in the store. But it would be the same with the horses or the cows. Do you have milking cows, or do you have like butchering
Beef
cows?
cows.
Yeah. Like, do you think they might work the system out that way? And then the horse that you buy, then you breed that horse, and then it's up to you with horses from there on out. You're breeding horses. But if you needed a horse to start with, Gala offers you this type of horse, and I don't know. I'm winging this out as I go.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they have to give us some kind of startup kit to get us going.
Right. So I didn't know if that was another place like further down the road. All right, they got all the buildings are out, all the deeds are. This is all the deeds. Obviously, we see all the deeds, but these are all the buildings that are going to be, and then they'll start introducing items such as like maybe livestock or the seeds, right? And then I don't know what I was saying with the horse was would have the same life system as us, so they would have to eat. So say I don't know what was the lowest like tier for the horses? Not stable, not barn.
It's just a stable.
No, below stable. Isn't there a hitching post?
Yeah, those I was told those will be just what they are, is a
Just to
hitching
keep
post. It's
just to keep your horse from
just
running away.
correct. They won't be breedable.
Right, but it would be like so if the horse has a life
But
system,
yeah, it would be somewhere that it could recoup at, I'm assuming, yes.
yeah, like get its rested level. Maybe it's like just a little bit of
Especially
rested
with the
level
amount of
without.
number they put out there of them.
Right, and then there's a little bit of water there, maybe, and then you jump up to the barn is where they can get better rested, and then they can also eat some food, and maybe stables is where breeding happens. I don't know if that's what could happen there, but all right. So we're out there, right, and we're doing our grind. We can only grind so long, which is good because it kind of puts a sink on things too, man. So you can't oversaturate the market, right? Gives you a time limit. So you're out there and you're grinding up, I don't know, getting some herbs or killing some wolves for some meat and some skins. And then, I don't know, you spend out there out too long and get weekend, or you end up and you die, man. So, that brings us to cemeteries. So, what do you think about cemeteries? What's your opinion on them?
Go ahead, Jeff.
What do you think, Jeff? What's going to happen with these cemeteries? He's taking pictures. Flowers. Anyways, all right, let me tell you what I think. I think it's permaloss. I think this comes down to permaloss. And based on the tier of cemetery is how much you're willing to lose. A basic resting place, but nonetheless, you shall be remembered. So I would assume you come back, right? This is for somebody that's, they go out in the world. They really have nothing on them. Maybe some herbs in their bag that they gathered, and they die. And you just come back with maybe the sword that you got from the tutorial and the armor that you might have got from the tutorial, right? Then the next one up.
Well, as long
Go ahead.
everything would be, as long as it's NFT tied to your wallet, it's going to be there no matter what. But everything else tied that you didn't have either acquired tied to your
You didn't mint.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Just the in-game items that's not minted or yeah. But like say then it goes up from there. Grand Cemetery, at the end of Grand Cemetery, it's just like you got this amazing sword, you got this amazing armor, you got all your loot. I don't know, maybe if it is an NFT, I don't know if you have to mint it off the game for you to be able to keep it, right? Or if it's in the game, you lose it. Obviously.
Well, McCarthy said that he wants it to be where if you get killed in so if you're out dungeon raiding and whatnot, you kill the master, you got a badass sword.
Right.
And you have to go back from there to a save point, technically. You need to get to a village or somewhere. Hey, stop that.
And that's the mint.
In order for you to have that weapon in your possession, you need to get back to the save point and save that to your account. Because when you kill the monster, it doesn't save it to your account. It's just in your pocket, technically, until you get to your save box, technically, or go to the poly bank or somewhere and get it minted.
I don't think it can work like that. I think you can lose. I think you could lose everything. I think unless you mint it off the chain. That's
what I mean. Off the chain. You need to get, so like say you have.
But that means you're not using the sword then.
Well, no. All right. So like what I'm trying to say is though, like me and you go into a dungeon and me and you kill Soko badass boss and we win, and there's a drop. You get a badass helm and an axe that's legendary or ultra legendary, and I get a sword that's ultra legendary. We've already got badass equipment on us because that's how we kick this dude's ass. But
right on.
But we need to get back to the village in order to get to that camp or wherever it is that requires us to lock that items that we won there into our account. Because technically they're only in our pocket. So if on the way we get hit by a horde of goblins and stuff and they knock us down and kill us, that's where I think we're going to be paying that cemetery fee of the grandchild or whatever, the grand one or whatever it is.
Where you keep all your stuff.
Because you want to keep that sword or that axe and stuff. So we're going to pay out our butt to get there.
Sure. But I'm thinking more like, all right, we got all our stuff on and we beat this dude and we got the sword and then we head back to wherever the saving place is. And then you can put the sword in your chest. You can mint it off the chain. But as long as it's within the game and it's out of the chest and you're using it or it's in your bag, and no matter what point, you can lose that item. And that's why you would want to use the Grand Cemetery to get that item back. If you use just a regular cemetery or a large cemetery might be like just the items or just your bag items and not your armor. Or just all the stuff you're wearing, or your backpack. You might lose your backpack with the large. But grand is like maybe you keep it all and you pay for that coin.
So the NFT technically, since you're not buying, I guess you could be buying it from another player
until you mint it off of the chain.
Right.
So everything you can lose anything. Anything is mintable, and everything can be lost. Unless you want to mint it off the chain, and then it goes into your Gala treasure chest or open sea
Right, but
wherever
now
you
you're
sell it.
saying if it goes to get minted off the chain, and then does that mean it's taken out of the game and it sits in
Yeah.
the polybank type thing?
Yeah, it's kind of like in the vault. So then you can throw it in the vault, and I don't
All
know.
right, I see what you're saying now.
I don't
So it's
know
no
how the
longer
I don't know how
available
rent.
in use.
Yeah, I don't know how renting's going to use. Like if you die with a rented item, I
But
don't.
that would bring the value of all items down though in game. So like that legend or the owning a majestic stable or any of the majestic like buildings that produce things, nobody's gonna want to pay 3 ether for this bad sword that's sitting in that shop because you can technically lose it.
Yeah, well, you that's why you would use the
You,
Grand Cemetery.
right, but most people aren't going to be at that level if they manage to get that badass sword in a drop or whatever because they went in a raid with like 30 people and that
Sure.
guy can't afford to get it back. He just lost everything.
Well, then
Or even if he did manage to.
yeah, he's gonna try to get it back. He ain't gonna want to spawn, but
Yeah,
that's the sink,
but
right?
what's the timeline on the cemetery? Like, are you like you got so long to res or you auto res back into the crap cemetery?
You might be done until you decide to res, right? You're not playing the game anymore until you decide to res. With
Well,
the
that would make sense for the horse side, honestly, because that would make it to where horse. But still, there's that scary side. Most people are going to be like, "How do you auto res your horse? Did it just die, and now you got to go to the
well,
cemetery?" And
I don't know. I don't know if you should be able to res horses. I mean, I guess cemeteries could be used for horses, but I mean, there should
but
be
that's
everything should have a sink, right? Everything should get lost so you can recycle it. So I don't know if horses I assume horses will have the same life cycle. They'll have the energy bar with the rested bar and the life bar and who knows what
so
else.
technically the only NFTs in the game will be buildings and the deeds.
No, everything can be an NFT. Like your horse, you can mint it and pull it off the game. But it's not like an actual NFT mint until you mint it off the game, right? Other than that, that's why Gala it would be doing their not they mentioned private blockchain, but they didn't say, they're like, no, it's not a private blockchain. It's
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You
that's
can
the
mint it
purpose
and
of
it
that.
becomes an item that I can sell it to you across the
Yes.
block if
It,
I take it out of the game, though. But the point is, though, there is no value to that item, honestly, in my opinion. I wouldn't buy a horse that cost me 3 ether knowing I can lose it the moment I bring it back into the game.
well, you buy a horse with the Mirandus coin, and
You-
then
you-
then you would mint that horse, and then you could sell it for ETH, right? But
But what happens when you lose your 3 ether horse and it's killed? You're recycling things, right? So it would need to be
yeah,
technically deleted.
yeah, that's well, should a horse cost 3 ETH?
So there,
Sure.
that's when people look at that, it's no longer playing a game that has a blockchain that has an NFT tied to it to them. They're still looking at it being the same as like playing Ark, where I spent 15 hours or a solid week to gain a dragon or something at perfect stats, and then I lose it 3 hours later.
Well, yeah,
It kills the game for you real quick, trust me.
but I
And if
mean,
somebody pays, now, but that was a free dragon now. Remember, this only cost me time. Now, somebody that comes in and drops even $100 on a horse, that's a lot of money. And the minute that that horse is gone, it's no longer like that game that you bought for $100 is not playable. No, just the horse that you bought for $100 is not playable. And no game plays that way. Like
but
if you go into WoW and you buy a mount for $100, it's there, it's yours. I mean, you can't sell it to some other ding dong, but it isn't going to get killed in the process of the game line because you've got money invested in that horse or that mount.
but at some point, somebody's going to stop buying horses because they don't need horses anymore.
Well, I get that. That's where I'm kind of confused on how this horse stuff is. My concern is how they're going
What
to
if
do this. Like
what
there's
if price discovery was a lot easier? What if a horse cost you like $1? Would that make it easier?
now on if you're talking about at the regular 10 by 10 stable, absolutely.
Yeah, like a horse costs you $1, but you get the
But
majestics.
now you're not because we know, but that when it cost me $1 because now we already know that the horses can come in different stats and rarities. They've already said because you can breed even in a 10 by 10, you might get lucky and get a higher tiered horse.
Right. So now you got a $10 horse. Is a $10 horse worth, it's a really good horse. You know how to take care of it. You know how to not to die, but you could make the
I
mistake Is it still
I
works?
would love that system because that's just easy rotational money for
Yeah. So
me.
there's a chance of losing your horse if you're irresponsible
I'd
with
be
it.
out selling people horses and killing them.
Right? I mean, dude, yeah. What if something comes out, you dismount it from your horse? I don't know how you're going to dismount in the
I'd be
actual
like,
combat
hey,
world.
Punjab, see that guy? I just sold him a $20 horse, man. Go fucking make your or excuse me, lady. Go
Go
make your
kill his
$10,
horse.
man. Go kill the horse.
Oh my god. That's another
We'll
thing,
just
man. What if you can kill other people's animals? Like, just roll up and start killing somebody's livestock? I don't think they'd allow that.
no, but what I could do is kite a monster over because I see your horse sitting there.
Oh my
Now
god.
I know that probably. Now, does the hitching post keep my horse safe while the monster is attacking and destroying everything in my town? Probably not.
Well,
So
that
again, I
that starts to bring up where's it at? Did you see this? Which was the stone shops and the large stone craft shops.
yes, sir, I did.
So is that damage to your walls? Is that how you? Does he just like a monster rolls in instead of like getting to your horse and destroying your horse? He's only destroying buildings and crops and I don't
And
know.
this is why I
And this
keep
is
repeating
repair.
that.
Are these used for repair?
And that's why there's a stonemason there because there wouldn't be any use for a stonemason once the building's done, the wall's built, it's done. Like you shouldn't be worried about it. But that means that there's damage function here,
Right.
and to me, that 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 that's why I was saying back at the beginning when this guild first started that we need to focus on getting like storage unit type stuff because we're going to need to be able to have a guild. Everybody in the guild is like sending in small donations every week or month or whatever the rotation is, and that builds up for when a monster comes in and knocks somebody out completely to where we can at least keep them in motion and sustain them. And then when it just keeps everybody in the game that's in that guild
Yeah.
in
That'd be a
motion at all
that'd be a
times.
great guild function for that. The other 50% of that node, man, is just helping repair people's
Like
stuff from this.
here's the thing. To me, that they're not rewriting the book on the game.
No, sure.
There's nothing new here, honestly, other than it's a blockchain. And there's an economy system that we're actually going to get paid in but it's the same thing though without us getting paid in real life.
Yeah, it's
We
just
were
the
still getting paid
NPC
in
or
the game.
players.
Yeah, well, there's games out there that we could be shopkeepers and different things in it. Like Life is Feudal, there's all these different functions. Like your trait is what you focus on, and that's what you build your skills in.
Sure. Sure,
So
sure.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. When they started talking about the game, and everybody's like, "We don't really know how this is all going to work," and I'm like, "Actually, it does. Like, I already knew what traits they were going to bring out because, if you're looking at real life on how things work, they have to bring in these regular traits. I've already called all these traits months ago
Oh
that
yeah.
they're just dropping now.
Dude, they where's that at? Let me bring this up. This is well, you sent me this to me the other day. I didn't see it mint though. But
What's
it was
up?
the claw stands. Like I called this. I was like, they're gonna have a tailor, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, there's functions here. If we're building armor and we have like all these different layers that we're already seeing in certain things, they have to put in these other layers that actually make these upper layers function on the lower end. I mean, you're not going to slap a piece of leather on and go run around out in the woods and try to fight stuff if you don't have cloth underneath that leather.
Yeah. I also thought that this is how you're going to get your bags, right? Or even the leather, the saddle bags for your horses, just for storage
hmm
going out there. So
Well,
your horse can have storage, and you can also have storage.
well, I got mad when I first got in this and they dropped the things and I was like, why are you charging 1,000? Or it was actually, why are you charging $500 for a rant when it has pretty much the same scale as the farm does, like on plots and stuff? Like, you better get a whole lot of extra money on the cattle or whatever it is you're breeding and butchering or dairy or whatever compared to the thing because the price thing didn't make sense.
Right.
And I think it was not McCarthy, Eric or whatever his name was. I think he came in and told me that the ranches will have multiple uses that come out of the butcher when we go to like tear these animals down because you got bones in the leather and the marrow and you've got
Oh man.
the
Yeah.
sinew which you got to use for making the arrows or
Dude,
the
yeah.
shafts on the arrows.
They mentioned that in that
And
Mirandus
so
Monday too. Just the milk and like skimming off the top of that whatever for the butter and Just like there's some
Yeah,
in-depth
so
stuff they're doing. I didn't think of bones, man. It's using animal bones. Like
yeah,
what
so
Indians
like
do.
when he told me that, that just told me exactly what I needed to know. There was no more guessing on how everything was supposed to work. I mean, I don't understand their their logic to the function it'll be, but as for the basics of it, it has to be basic. Like it can't shift and be like, butter magically just does its own thing now. Like it has to have that function, like it's
Yeah,
coming from the cows
through the
and
process. You gotta go
they
through
got to
that
turn it.
process.
So and I played Town Star for a couple weeks trying to understand it, and understanding from the basics of how they built that game and all the effects like shadows and water and different
Hmm.
spots in the soils, and it all has effect on the shit you're growing. So
Yeah,
why would they not be bringing that same scenario like implement? Because they obviously love that. Because I mean, they stand hardcore behind it when they talk about Town Stars.
sure.
So when I see
Simulation,
them
dude.
doing that,
They're all about
they're
simulation.
dragging that stuff right over to Mirandus.
That's why I'm curious about life systems. Like now you got ends, so now you got to stay rested. How long you got to stay rested for? Maybe 8 hours of sleep,
It,
just like real life, man. Just
no,
like
it'll be
this.
5. It'll be about 3 to 5 minutes. Honestly, this is what I'm
Nah.
saying.
I
They're
think
not
it'll be
breaking the
longer.
mold here.
I think it'll be longer. I think they'll be like you're in this inn. Why you have a whole building dedicated, like a camp or an
But
inn?
see that shuts people down, and nobody's going to want to do that. You don't want people walking away from your game. See, they make money by us being on their website too. The longer that we were sitting in traffic on their website, they're breaking up that making that cash. Their value of their website keeps going up.
I would
So
say
they
four
don't want to
hours.
see
I would
you.
say that they want you to park for the night when you're done playing the game. They want you parking at a specific spot and having that rest in there, just as a real
Yeah, but now
simulation.
is that a forced rest or is that because you're just done playing the game?
I think it's a forced rest. So that's just so you can't be out there just crushing out mining resources and oversaturating the markets.
But can't do that because you would constantly have to restart and go back to the base or somewhere,
Yeah,
recoup, do all the
absolutely.
stuff.
You got to go home and
But you could do that in from the size and scale of this map, dude. You're not gonna spend 2 minutes running from where you were at unless you're standing outside your base already. Like if you're going out fucking killing wolves and stuff,
yeah,
you're probably going to be 30 miles out from your base, so it's going to take you an hour to get back to your base or a half hour to get back to your base just
sure.
at that
You
scale.
got most of the day, right? Just or as long as you can keep your energy up. Maybe you keep it up
So
longer with
I
food.
don't know.
It's like
I
once
think if
that
you try to
rested level
lock
goes
people out,
down, maybe that rested level, as that rested level goes down, that energy drains quicker, faster, rather
so
than
maybe that's where the temple comes into place too.
how's that work?
Like you walk into the temple and it gives you a buff for rest. Or that's where the inn comes in and it just gives you an auto buff for rest.
Or a potion.
Yeah, I mean there's so many different multiple functions they have here that like cuz
Yeah, you just don't know
it
how it's going to work. But I
yeah,
assume that being
I
rested, you lose the resting, and then your energy falls faster for the less that you're rested.
because
So
there's
it's
going to be people that aren't
more
going to
food.
just want to like log off after be playing for 4 hours and stuff because there's people like me that get locked into the game and we're in it for a day or two,
Oh yeah,
like especially
you might be plugged in, 12 hours, man. But at 12 hours, you might have to. I mean, you can rest for 2 minutes, but is that 2 minutes going to might only buy you an hour, right?
well, that's where it's going to cost you more. So you want to go into the to that higher end or something. They'll give you different options. You can go to the suite,
I seen
or
them.
you can go to the.
I don't have the big ends, but I've seen the bigger ends, man, like the Majestics. They're offering food too. It's kind of tapping into the taverns market, man.
Yeah, well, is the tavern an inn though, or is the tavern just a tavern?
Tavern's just a tavern, man. They said that's where you get the best food, though, right? At least in that Mirandus Monday that I was reading. But I assume one of them big
Yeah,
inns, you can get food and a good place to
I
sleep
think
there.
that I think that the developers and the devs that are like or like bit or I can't remember this dude's name right now. My brain is on. I need more sleep.
McCarthy?
No, our PR guy, Bitbender. There we go.
Oh yeah, Jason.
Well, they're hardcore into this and they're trying to keep up with everything, but you got to remember they're not creating it. They're getting
Yeah,
passed down information, and when you get passed down information, the telephone game becomes play. So he reads it and he takes interpretation of what he's reading there and reads it out the way he hears it in his head. but the way the guy that's designing it may not have the same function as what the way he said it that way.
Okay.
Like I think they get ahead of themselves and they start talking about certain things because like you're not going to go to the tavern and get the best rest you can get when there's an inn that's costing you
Yeah.
300 gala to spend the night there.
Sure. Yeah, I could see a little bit of telephone game going on there. Just like, yeah, just
It's,
vague information, right? They got an idea what they
yeah,
want, but
they're doing what we're
this is
doing
the
right
stuff.
now is what he's doing, honestly, I
Yeah.
think. He's got some basic information and he's just trying to make the conversation go out.
Yeah. It's just limited. Anything can change, right? Even in alpha.
And they keep repeating that.
I'm
Keep repeating that, so you can't get locked into any idea.
I figured in alpha this show will be about the shit that they need to fix. Right. Everything that's broken. Hey, this is what's broken. Why? How can they fix this? That's what it'll turn into. All right. What are we at with 35 minutes? I say we wrap this up. I wanted to throw out some sort of not really announcements, but just, some kind of guild news, right? So for our founders, Mr. Nobody's, putting up the Article 1 and Article 3 for us to look at as proposals. And if everybody gets a chance to read that and, submit their own proposal under the Founders Official. Just read through it, check it out, see if you like it, give him a nod of approval. I mean, he's winging this stuff out, and give him a shout out if you see him. And then on the member side, Draconic Inc. is working on a spreadsheet to use as a tool, maybe to help us network in this guild. So, I was trying to get Crazius to pin the message in general, or at least his spreadsheet. But you can find it in Help Me, and I think it's around the 6th of April. You can find it up there, and maybe try to help him out. He's just throwing your information, and he's just trying to work something out where it's like, how many plots, how many D donors we got, how many plots are available, how many plots is that D donor going to use with their buildings, and then he's going to start tapping into buildings. But he's doing great stuff over there too. So I just wanted to throw that stuff out there. If you guys didn't see any of it, that's all I got. What do you think, Wolf?
I think you did a good job, man.
All
I think we're moving forward.
Hopefully I don't turn this off and I'm like, hey man, your sound didn't work. All right. We'll figure it out. Later, everyone.